Serenity, and this is my channel, and welcome back to my kitchen. Welcome to another episode of the heart cake series. Today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to be making a heart cake together, but I'm going to be showing you how I put images on the cake. I don't have an edible printer per se, but the only people who actually eat my cakes are my family. So the way I do this might not be the most food safe, but if I poison anyone, it's going to be my own family. And as far as I know, printer ink is not poisonous. And we take off the image before. But anyways, that's besides the point. So for the point of this video, I'm making this McLaren heart cake, which is my favorite F1 team, as you can tell. This is part of an ongoing series I have on TikTok, and I think I have the shorts on YouTube. So the image on here is printed on photo paper, and I'm going to be walking you through how to do that, how to laminate the back so nothing happens to it. Let's get into it.
To start, we actually have to make the topper, so I'm doing an Aston Martin for my next heart cake in this series. But basically, a couple months ago, I traced on a piece of blank printer paper and then measured that for my 6-inch heart pan. Then I scanned it using my printer's scanner, uploaded it into Canva to turn it into a PNG. That way I erased everything but literally the outline that I made with my pen. So I have this template now for my heart cakes. So I just Googled and found the Aston Martin F1 team logo, uploaded it here, and then I put the blocks around it in the same color, screenshotted that, re-uploaded it, and then I'm using the eraser tool in Canva to get kind of cleaner edges. That way when I resize it to 5.5, it is nice and seamless. Now you're going to want to do this just about 1/2 inch smaller than your actual cake. That way you don't overlap on the logo or whatever text is on your print. So printing, I'm using edible wafer paper here, and you're going to print on the best setting possible. This is going to be the burn part. But for the other part that we are laminating, this is photo paper. And again, print on your best setting. This is going to get you the best results. For the burn, we are literally just going to trim using that outline, and you can see how it burns once it is set on fire. Now for the heart, this is how we are going to do it. You're going to trim just roughly, not on the line yet, and using just clear desk tape, you're going to laminate the back, making sure every square inch on the back of that paper is covered in this clear tape. This is your barrier. I have a lamination machine, but a lot of us do not. So this is the quickest and easiest and cheapest way to do this when you don't have an edible printer. You can also use contact paper on the front and back of this and create like your own version of laminating if you have that. I know us Cricut girlies understand that, but no one is going to eat this sheet. It's literally just there for decoration. It's taken off before even cutting. Then you will trim around on the line finally, and that is how you laminate the back. That way the oils in your butter do not penetrate and your printed image doesn't look wonky. So I'm using leftover buttercream for this recipe. If you want my buttercream recipe, I literally have an in-depth video on it on my page, along with multiple other cake videos that go into more detail, but I use Russian buttercream. But I had orange and blue left over from something, but I did add some extra white, and I'm making the color darker to be more papaya, which is McLaren's color, and I'm dyeing some of the blue along with white that I had left over to become this kind of like coastal blue color that is the blue of McLaren. Once that is nice and mixed up, it's time to stack and crumb coat our cake. So I'm using a Victoria sponge vanilla cake, and for my crumb coats, I like to use just white buttercream with no food dye because it creates this layer that when we put a nice pop of color on top, it can be more opaque and pop better. And plus, you don't have to use as much food dye. It saves you money and it saves you time. You can always re-dye this white buttercream for something for a different project. So for the crumb coat, I'm just trying to get this pretty smooth, and I did it pretty thin. Once that sets in the freezer, it is time to start with our papaya orange color. I'm doing a thick border all the way around using my piping bag and then my tall offset spatula to smooth it kind of roughly. This does not have to be perfect. I just want to make sure there are no gaps anywhere. You can see there are air bubbles. We're going to be fixing that later. Also, we're going to pipe the top, and then once that has set in the freezer, we are going to start scraping our cake. Okay, so I have 2 tips when scraping your cake. You can either put your scraper in a hot cup of water so it's nice and warm and the buttercream smooths better, or you can put her directly in fire. So I was taking breaks and putting my spatula directly into fire on the stove to get it nice and hot. That way I got nice and smooth edges on my cake. That is my new favorite tip, but that's a little more dangerous, so do that with caution. So it's time to start our piping. I'm using my favorite tip, the 6B from Hobby Lobby. We're going to place our image centered and then hold it down with your fingers while you pipe the border. That way there's no weird lumps. I use the same tip for the bottom border. Next, we're using a 21 Hobby Lobby tip to do the top lip border and then again on the bottom border. And I'm going in the same direction, so I'm not just going all the way around like I would on a circle cake. I like to make sure that my piping goes in the same direction. It's just an ick of mine on these heart cakes when they're not. So next, I'm going in with this 102 ruffle tip from Wilton and doing our first line of ruffles in blue, and I'm just pulling the buttercream and then overlapping it. Next, I'm going in with my favorite ruffle tip, which is the 70 from Hobby Lobby, and it's the same technique. You just pull and go over the buttercream. Then we're gonna go in with that star tip from earlier for the top part, and for our blue shell border on the top lid and bottom lid. This is a tip, I have no idea what it is, but I got it in a kit. Now I'm gonna use a number 5 tip for these little dots as our final whoops, and then I'm using that same shell tip from earlier to make the little droops that go in the center of each ruffle. And I'm using that same blue star tip again for the inner border on the top of the cake. Then the cake is complete for this portion. So this is just the McLaren normal cake I do for each team, but now we're going to repurpose this cake and make it the burnaway cake.
Another thing we are about to do is we're going to be making a burn cake together. So we're going to take this cake right here and we are going to do that burn trend. I really have been wanting to do this trend, but when Norris won his first race in Miami, I knew I needed to do it with the McLaren because I have been wanting to do a whatever it takes McLaren cake. And then with the no wins allegations and all that, I knew I could make a really cool cake. So we're going to do it together. Hopefully this goes well. And if not, we're in this together, me and you, boo.
So first thing is I set the cake in the freezer so the buttercream could get nice and stiff and it'd be easier to take the top off. So I just peeled off our picture image. I know where it is. It usually starts where the inner line is for the blue. And then I'm just using a knife and scraping off the top of the cake so we have a smooth surface. Now I'm just going to get this as smooth as possible using my knife, and then I'm going to place my new image here, which I already laminated the back of, and I made it the exact same way as I showed you earlier. We're going to use the same 6B tip from earlier and do the exact same border. But the way these heart cakes work is you're going to actually layer your buttercream. That way the burn part and the picture part don't touch. So on top of that first border, we're going to do another border nice and thick. That way there is a gap between these two images. This is how the cake works. Now we're going to take our burn image and place it on top. I actually cut it a little too small, so you do want this to be a little bigger. And I am going to do another border just like earlier. This is going to be our final border, what you're going to see presented. And I'm using that same blue tip I used earlier to kind of clean it up and make it look like this is the cake, and then it's the surprise when we burn it. And that's how you make these burn cakes. So I'm going to put this in the freezer for about 5 minutes so the buttercream can harden so it doesn't melt too much when we burn it. But the key with these is you want to keep as much moisture out of the cake as possible, so don't leave it in the fridge too long.
You told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, leave a like, comment down below. This is my 4th cake in the 10 F1 team series that I have going on. So we still have the 6 teams and the rest of the year to get through them. I think she came out so cute. I really put in that blue because the papaya, love orange, but I miss the blue in the car. You know, I need carbon fiber to go, and then the black and white that are part of the team come in the picture. My socials are all linked down below if you want to follow me. As a palette cleanser, the doggo picture of the day is this picture of Nova, as always. She's winning the I don't give F war. Okay, she's always napping on something. And that's all I have for you. Love you, mean it, kisses, don't do anything stupid, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why